As you know, the amount of bullish news that we have in crypto is pretty good, and we've had a decent inflation print. But does all of this hang on one thing and one thing only? Politics. Now Q4, we are going to have an election. These US elections are pretty much important, and the data between cryptocurrency and obviously the market right now is relatively healthy. Not to mention what is actually genuinely happening between Donald Trump and obviously Biden regarding cryptocurrency donations. So this video is going to outline essentially why political powers could be of interest, certainly with the ETFs and other bits and pieces. The reality is here, and I know this is going to sound mental, this could be a first election where it is crypto-led. I know. I say it again. Bull market Q4, is it coming? Well, let's look at it. So before we go anywhere, we got to look at the obvious. The Federal Reserve signals a rate cut this year, but only one, maybe two. So CPI data came out very, very good yesterday. In terms of forecast, it was better than expected. Created a bit of a relief rally. However, Federal Reserve situation is the dot plot came out, Mr. Powell spoke, and things went a bit shit from there. That's fine, that kind of happens, but we are in a period of consolidation, and it's boring, I know, but all the news is really good. Now, this is a thing, and I know people in the comments go, but it's always bullish and nothing's happening. Well, that's good in a way, because, let me just, wait. Full focus, right? We need bullish news. We need news. We need people, right? The fact that stuff is genuinely happening, this video is going to outline that, is massive, right? Just don't get confused by the price, please. So going back to what I was talking about, we need to look at the core inflation too. The core inflation year on year is doing incredibly well. It is better than expected. This is a thing that really moved the needle, right? It's down a decent chunk, better than expected, right? This is the main element. So when we talk about that, things are looking good. Now that could mean why the base case of only one cut this year is good. I've got a feeling cuts are going to rumble the market a lot. And we're going to look at the technicals of the S&P and stuff like that. So don't bugger off. You need to understand this situation because this is where potentially liquidity, I know, could come into the crypto market when things all settle down. By the way, if you've not yet done so, like the video, please. Thanks. Oh, and subscribe. Right, so my last video that I did, or I did it on Monday actually, was about cryptocurrency miners. They've done incredibly well. Now, Donald Trump, love him or hate him, I don't care. I'm in the UK. Our political, let's not go into that. Even worse. So he has called that all Bitcoin mining should be done in the US. And I know he's properly embraced the I don't even know what to say, description word for Bitcoin, right? He has gone for it, right? So obviously he's got funding power from cryptocurrency donations so far, quite a lot. He is looking at like how the Bitcoin mining's world and, you know, maybe our last defense against the central bank digital currency. I like that. And as you know, I do invest in a lot of miners and my portfolio has done incredibly well over the last couple of weeks. Problem is, will this stay? Will we get this situation where it is just going to be American focused, right? And this is where this video kind of goes on to in terms of the absolute change, the pivot from US 2 years ago to today. It is chalk and cheese. It really is chalk and cheese. So this situation is huge. Even though you've got this situation where Biden technically hates cryptocurrency, well, something may change that very, very, very soon. Now I know Joe Biden, in my opinion, is way over the hill and shouldn't be running for office, right? I really feel sorry for him. When you look at the situations, right, it's crazy. But this is a really good one. So in terms of Biden campaign in talks to accept cryptocurrency donations, it makes sense, guys. Honestly, it really does. And this is why we talk about political powers and why cryptocurrency could become a massive factor. Certainly when it comes to digital bank currencies, when it comes to the mining ecosystem, when it comes to tax, when it comes to the availability of the ETFs and the situation where it could be used as a better situation versus the US dollar that is, as we know, gradually dying. Yeah, this is massive news. And as much as like obviously Donald Trump's been doing it for a couple of weeks now and it's done very well, this just makes sense to do it and it allows people to actually do this. And as much as, you know, love it or hate it, people in the, you know, the White House, some people obviously don't like it. There's people that are real big advocates for it. So yeah, interesting. Now we need to talk about the obvious, I know, boring, but the previous election years. The only ones we can look at realistically is 2016 and obviously 2020. But when you look at when these happen, look how green they are. Now, again, there was 2022. No, it was 2012, sorry. Really, really bullish here, right? As you can see, bullish into a hype year. Bullish into a hype year. Now, I am not saying that this is by design. Obviously, the Bitcoin halving cycles tend to fall within the election situation. I know conspiracy theories. Oh my God, it was created by the CIA. Let's ignore that. The reality is here, and it's one thing and one thing only. In an election campaign, and we'll look at the S&P later, you need the market to be healthy. And when we're talking about the market in terms of the S&P right now, it's melting up. It's going really high. It's gapped up. So that situation alone is going to create for potential wealth to be created and moving around. Is Bitcoin, though, going to become that little bit of a gem for people to look at as an alternative versus gold, versus silver, other precious metals, cash, and other bits of investments that they may look at? Maybe, yes. Before we look at the charts, though, we're going to look at this situation here with Curve Dow. The reason why I want to talk about this is because there's a lot of people that still use this. I know it's not as popular as it once was, but decentralized exchanges, in terms of all the situations around it, currently there's a decent chunk of money getting literally like wrote off, which is not good. We have to be very careful with stuff like this, right? Obvious. I know there's a lot of bullish news. I know there's a lot of hype, and I know people will get drawn into that, financial advice and all that kind of malarkey. So this is not financial advice. Don't take out loans. Do not overborrow. Do not borrow in general, and try not to get yourself liquidated. This is what's happening here to the founder, right? This can happen to every single person who joins in, because one obvious situation is the fact that the price is now plummeting and people are going to be at risk now. Got to be very, very careful. Now, something of absolute boredom to a lot of you is the fact that we are in the longest consolidation period of Bitcoin's history, pretty much. I know, could be a slingshot. I like that graphic, but ultimately, let's talk about the obvious. It is in a range. It is ugly. It is horrible. It is boring. I know. This is why the YouTube views are getting lower. This is why X engagement is down. This is why people don't give a shit. But they will give a shit when the price moves. And when you look at what is coming in Q4, it gets very interesting very quickly in terms of where the liquidity can come from, when there's history of talking about markets and why people are going to be talking about it. Then you've got potential situation of a potential move up. We will talk about that in a second, right? The problem you've got is, and let's be serious, a lot of you guys, in my opinion, not everyone who watches my channel, I'm hoping most people are grounded, but you kind of sold a dream that you're going to make money very, very quickly, but ultimately it's a market and it's supply and demand. It's obviously all that different situations. It's fundamental analysis. It's news. It's all whatever. It doesn't just go in a straight line. I think a lot of bullish posts, essentially, when you're talking about when halving happened and when the ETFs got approved, oh my God, it's a go. It doesn't happen that way. There's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes to talk about on-chain data, which talk about, why it's a little bit suppressed in my previous videos. But as I said before, the underlying pinning of this point and the nucleus of it is, well, bullish news is bullish news and it's good news. I would rather there be bullish news than no news. And that's when you find in bear markets where there's nothing happening, it's crap, it's Goblin Town. There will be a catalyst that will send this market higher. It will. We are at levels of resistance. Things are getting very interesting. And when we talk about the consolidation periods, you'll see in a second what I mean. But yeah, just don't just tap out just yet. Other news, and I know we've got to talk about some bearish news, but the crypto firm, or whoever you want to know them as these days, Terra Labs, have reached a $4.47 billion civil agreement with the US Securities Exchange Commission, known as the SEC. So obviously, yes, they flushed $40 billion down the drain. It got very, very interesting, very, very ugly, very, very fast, and he's still in prison, and he probably will be in prison for quite a lengthy time, in my opinion. So with all this, a civil lawsuit and a massive fine as well for Do Kwon has agreed to be banned from cryptocurrency. Wow. So all of this is huge. But yeah, we need this cloud to be gone, and it feels like we are getting to that point now. And the final bit of news, and obviously we're going to talk bullish news because yes, MicroStrategy to raise $500 million in stock sale to buy more Bitcoin. They just don't stop. So let's look at the technicals. Right. For some reason only, everyone's bearish. Oh, triple top, low. Yeah. I've always said that this 60k level is probably going to happen. We are in a consolidation range. It is boring, but we are at these levels where it could get very interesting, and enough bounces around this point, it could send it. It just needs one bit of news or one big blow up in a candle to send it. Short squeezes, whatever. What we've found recently, and this is my overall opinion, people are very short at shorting. No, late. People are very late at shorting and they get punished, and people are very late at longing and get punished, right? Literally right now. That's kind of what seems to be happening. So we've got to look at that as a situation. We are currently like melting a little bit, but the overall situation with the RSI, by the way, if you want this indicator, check out Learning Crypto. It's freaking awesome, by the way. I'm not going to give you this hidden alpha, but it's amazing. But overall, this isn't terrible, right? I mean, 60k. I mean, this time last year, it was 25k Bitcoin. What are people upset about, realistically, right? I know it's mainly the altcoins, and I talked about in my previous video that most people don't hold Bitcoin, they hold altcoins. But bloody hell, I mean, come on. So with regards to the total of the entire market capitalization, as you can see here, we've had a few corrections and it's looking a bit ugly. But we are still currently in a bullish market right now, as of now. We're still above the EMA 21 as well, which is hugely important. We're going towards the trigger line, which is what I call it here, which is basically the 50% mark, where things get very interesting. Basically, when you're above this line, it's bullish. When you're below it, it's a bit bearish. There you go. But the reality is here, this market's still not too bad, right? We are coming into summer. Summer is often not the best for crypto. It tends to be a bit iffy, depending on the market cycle. Going into a bull market, it's usually a bit slow anyways. So the reason why it kind of makes sense is because we are coming into a situation where things are getting interested on the S&P 500. This is freaking madness, by the way. Look at this. This is just continuously going high. Now, I did a price target a very long time ago of 5556. It's no longer on my chart. Might be on this one, actually. No, lost it. Basically, my methodology around all of this was the fact of this situation. This situation was essentially, there you go, 5665. Basically this extension here. We've had a massive impulse. We pulled back. We basically pulled back to the 23.8 basically, or 23.6 level on the Fibonacci pretty much. And we're just continuing going higher. This level here is, yeah, we are in blue sky breakouts. So what does this mean for crypto? It means a lot. It means that liquidity is going to get probably found somewhere, and we may well start to see this drain into other markets, certainly when the sell-offs and market lows and stuff. A lot of people were talking about new market lows coming in the summer, and we are in the summer, and we are going to see a correction on this. 100% we are going to see a correction. So don't get too caught up in the emotions of this, like, oh my God, you're all making money. But whenever this tops out, there's going to be a pullback, whether it tops out here, whatever. It will pull back probably into this sort of region here in terms of where the previous high has been, and then we need to decide what's going to happen. But this is the thing. We've talked about it a number of times, the summer lull. It happens. It is a real thing where, people talk about it, hedge fund managers go and hold it. It seems to settle down a little bit, but we have got an election. An election could be very, very interesting. Now, I mentioned at the start of this video about Bitcoin miners with Donald Trump. Just to give you an idea of what's been happening, this is Terra. This has been on a massive run the last couple of days. Now, this is a 3-day time frame, so it's the last week or so. IREN is another one that's absolutely flying. Even Riot has decided to turn up with a couple of green candles from the lows, which is pretty good considering my entry isn't perfect on here. HUT is another one. A lot of them are starting to show signs of life, and it could get interesting, obviously with the Donald Trump situation. But when we start looking at other things, look at MicroStrategy, right? This is already flowing up. This could go much higher as well. So there's a lot of things here that could be of massive interest. And the final thing we need to talk about is the DXY, which is the dollar. Now, for obvious reasons, this is the swing high to the swing low. We've pulled up into this region. Are we going to reject and continue going higher? Now, this is a thing. Looking at these daily time frame, we may have rejected and we may continue going down. We have had an impulse. We have had a correction. We did create a little bit of an uptick here, a bit of a deviation, sorry. And what if we go lower? If we go to 103 or 102 down here, which is definitely possible, by the way, in terms of the structure, it could get interesting. That would be a indication that we might get a move up in crypto. Often you find when this goes down, crypto moves up. So yeah, it tends to be very, very interesting when you look at it. So there we go. We're done. Hope this all makes sense. The US elections could have a massive pivotal role in Q4. Problem is, not many people are patient enough for it. We are having all-time highs in the S&P. That could be interesting. The VIX is at low levels of 12, give or take, which is crazy. We've got the FX pairs going a bit berserk. Gold is still hovering at certain levels. And there may well be liquidity found somewhere. Just need to keep an eye on it. Elections mean healthy markets.